Okay, we're here in the hills near Bakewell, and I've been riding with Rowan Elliott, who's nearly finished his Bike Master course with Rapid Training. And I just wanted to talk to him just to find out what he's got out of it. And first of all, just start us off by explaining, how did you get into it? Why did you do the course in the first place?
Well, I was sort of going out on my motorbike on my own when I first passed in August 2018, and I just didn't feel confident, as it were. So I was going out on the roads, I'm sort of going through traffic, and I just wasn't anticipating far enough ahead, and I just sort of felt a little bit sort of vulnerable. So when I got the opportunity to enter a competition for the Bike Master, I basically jumped at it and went for it, and I'm here now. What would it be? 10-12 months later, after going through all the levels, and level 1, level 2, level 3, both on the track and on the road, and I've nearly finished it, and it's completely changed my perspective on riding, completely changed anticipation, how I ride on the road, my leave the ego at home, all that sort of stuff. It's, you can ride fast when you need to, but majority of the time you're just out there to have fun and make sure you go home at the end of the day.
And so we did a bit of riding together today, and I just saw a bit of your riding, which was really, really lovely, smooth, fast. How would you describe that compared to right at the beginning?
It was probably a little bit more, for want of a better word, jolty. So I'd sort of see a bend, I'd shut off, and I'd be, all right, now I'm just holding my pace to come to the corner and then going round the corner, whereas now I'm arriving at the corner, knowing what I need to do, taking the pace off, maintaining my speed around the corner, and then accelerating out. And you know that you're really doing it really safely. You're always checking your mirrors, making sure you have that full view around you. So I call it my little bubble. So I'm in there, and I feel perfectly safe in that 100% of the time.
Okay. And just take us through the course, because it's not just on road, is it?
No,
there's a track. So just describe how the course worked. What did you do first?
Yeah, I did the first track day over at Three Sisters in Wigan. We basically turned up there. We were in groups of 4 or 5, one coach or 2 coaches in some groups as well. And we basically just went around there, learned how to sort of start tipping into bend, start learning counter steer, so we're learning how to steering quickly, learning how to use our brakes a little bit. But even then, on the first day, it was actually pretty much no brakes. Right. So just learning about how much the bike actually does slow down the second you shut off the throttle in terms of engine braking. Coming into the corners, having full faith, being really relaxed on the bars as much as you can. First time you've ever been on a track.
So was it your first time on track?
That was my first ever time on a track as well. Yeah. So I came away from that day really, really confident again, knowing that I'd gone on leaps and bounds on a relatively new to motorcycling and things like that. So not necessarily knowing what the limits of the bike were, but no, I don't want to learn the limits on the road, because it's just not safe to do so, and B, there's other road users that you need to consider at the same time as well. So you just need to take it all into consideration.
So just tell us a bit about the track sessions you did. You did 3 days, is that right?
Yes, we did three days of track sessions. So I did the level 1 track day session, which would be 2-to-1 riders to coach, and that was more sort of like just learning the basics, where we learned counter steer, throttle control, lines, and also visual skills as well. So making sure you're anticipating the corner, looking far enough ahead so you know sort of like what's coming up, and also just feeling the bike and sort of beginning to learn what its capabilities are, of course, because I don't want to learn the full capabilities of the bike on the road, as it were, where there's other road users.
Were you surprised about how good the bike is?
Yes, absolutely love it, and in the nicest way, every track day I've been on, the other people who've been there as well have also been surprised at how much I'm getting out of such a small bike. So
right, you mean you're overtaking people?
I've been going past bikes that are 300 cc's more than this and leaving them behind.
Yeah.
Just by learning what it's capable of, and that's not just down to the tyres either.
Yeah.
But it's just I feel it's just about being as relaxed as possible, letting the bike do the talking. You're on there, you're a passenger, you're in control, but at the end of the day, it is the bike that does the talking.
Yeah. So first day the basics.
Yeah.
Second day on track.
Yeah, second day on track, we started to do a little bit more performance braking. So braking, it basically picked a corner in particular. So we went round the rest of the track. This is over at Blyton this time.
Yeah.
Picked a corner where we wanted to work on the braking. So literally going from something as fast as bike could possibly go while we're going up to the corner, braking as hard as we possibly can while still being in control. Going into the corner, just trying to keep the nice throttle control at the same time, and then sort of coming out and working on exit drive, so where we're really starting to get the power of the bike down through the wheels and jetting off into the distance, as it were. All to sort of then take the track and just concentrate on, again, cornering skills, visual skills, and throttle control as well.
Yeah. And day 3 is kind of just a recap sort of.
Yeah, day
polishing.
3 was to sort of like get some finesse about the whole thing. So really
Did that
start
happen?
to. Yeah.
Did you feel finessed?
I felt as though I definitely cracked it. I definitely broke the back of it. So I went in day 3. We'd driven all the way over there, so that was a 2-hour ride over.
Yeah.
A full day there, and even though you are getting tired towards the end of the day, but the first 2-3 sessions, absolutely flying. You just go into the corners, letting the tyres warm up, and then when you really start to let it open, you just sort of feel the bike going in, and like it was the first time I'd got the foot pegs and stuff grinding on the floor, and my foot was going down and things like that as well. So not quite knee down yet, but there's time yet on a track. But it was more just feeling the bike and just being as relaxed as possible when I'm going around the corners. So on this, I haven't got cruise control, but I do actually sort of feel I could lean into the corner and almost take my hands off and let the bike do the work around the corner, sort of thing. So it's really just polishing that ride and making so I'm doing the same thing going into the corners, so that when you're on the road you can feel 100% safe and in control when you're going around the corners.
So do you do the 3 track days?
Yeah.
And then you do the road days, or are they mixed up?
We did a fast track, so we did first 3. We did all 3 track days, and then we started doing the road days after. But the way it was meant to happen, it was just that the track days all coincided, so we could do the 3 road days
you can
together.
do it any way you want.
But it was meant to be a track day, 3 road days, track day, 3 road days, track day, 3 road days.
Okay.
But just because of the way, in terms of my schedule, my coach Brian's schedule worked, it just worked better that we had 3 track days, and then we went and started doing the road days as well.
What was your riding like on the road after all the track training?
It was, at first I was very much a straight line rider, so I'd sort of because we hadn't done visual skills on the road and things, I'd be going really, really fast and then brakes as much as I could, and then go around the corner and nothing was there, and it just didn't feel smooth. So we basically took me right back, stripped it all down and just knocked the speed off, and just said, right, just look far enough ahead to basically build my bubble, as it were, and then sort of brought in mirrors, started looking in, again looking at the different lines you can do, so going nice and wide on staying over onto the left on the right hand bend, and then late apexing. But like there was a couple of times sort of I used to sort of turn in a little bit too soon, and if there's opposing traffic, it's sort of like you just end up being too close to it. But leaving it that little bit later, I can see far enough down the road, so I know if I need to stay out wide, I know if I can come in a little bit sooner on the corner, because your visual skills, I'm looking say 400 or 500 metres ahead, so my bubble that I'm riding in is sort of just a nice little safe bubble, so you can sort of see almost everything that's going on around you, and anticipate what the other road users are doing. Sure.
So what did you find most difficult?
One of the things that took me quite a while to grasp was sort of limit point. which is basically coming into a corner and understanding that the corner is sort of coming towards you and then or going away from you, sorry, and it goes away and really starts to move away really quick, and then once your pace is matched with the speed of the corner moving away from you, that's when you know you can really start to tip it in and sort of accelerate out, because you can see around the corner. So that took me a little bit of time to grasp, just because I'd never looked at it in that sort of sense. But once I'd sort of cracked it really started to make sense. So it sort of lets me set my speed in the correct manner for the corner, because you can't necessarily go in. You can only ride into the distance that you can stop in,
sure,
as it were.
And this was 1-to-1 with Brian the whole time?
It's been, all the road days have been 1-to-1 with me and Brian, yeah.
So is that, I mean, how did you cope with that? Because I've done a bit of training and it's kind of really tiring concentrating for a long time.
It can be quite tiring. I mean, there's a lot of coffee stops. I really enjoy my coffee, so that helps. But there has been a couple of times where Brian's gone on the front and really started, not necessarily pushing really quick, but I've had to sort of concentrate on doing that, and he sort of says, right, we'll swap over, you go on the front and just ride your own ride.
Yeah.
And where I see points of development, I'll talk to you about them, but along with that, just ride your own ride and just try and be really smooth with it. So the level 3 road days have all been about just really polishing everything off and making it so everything's going together. So you sort of see a hazard, check your mirrors, you start to change your manoeuvres and sort of see what it is that's going on. If there's nothing going on, you're still aware of it. So just going through side roads, things like that. So it's just knocking that speed off, and as I said before, just not having an ego and going through those sorts of dangers at high speeds.
So is that what you were doing before?
To a certain extent, it was sort of like I'd see a side road and I'd do side road and I'd jam my brakes on, but I've already seen it now. I'm already at the right speed and I don't have to.
Yeah.
Because I've already anticipated something coming out, and there's been a couple of times where cars have come up and not seen me, but I'm already on the brakes before they've even started pulling out, and you just sort of see it's almost, I'd hate to say it, but second nature.
Yeah. So I mean, today's been chilly, and you've done virtually the whole course, certainly all the road riding in winter,
the wet.
Winter. So tell us about
that. I've not had a dry day. We've had torrential rain, we've had sideways rain, we've had snow at one point when we were over in Betsy Coed a couple of weeks, 3 or 4 weeks ago. We sort of went out to go and do a ride, realised, snow was coming in, so we did a U-turn and started doing the safe option, and then when we were on the way back, it was sort of like actually the snow was sitting on the front of the bike sort of thing, so it was like we couldn't necessarily stop because we'd be stuck where we were, so we sort of carried on being really safe. And the thing is, I learned with all of that riding is it's all about being as smooth as possible. So there's no choppy throttle control, there's no hard braking, none of that. And we've even been out in, not deliberately of course, but there was a day when we were over in the lakes and it just torrential hail, to the point where we pulled over on the side of the road and we decided this is the worst thing to do in terms of stopping, because you couldn't get your feet steady because your feet were sort of slipping. So it was like, moved back out onto the road and followed the sort of like the dry line, or the non-Haley line, and then went and stopped while it passed, as it were. But there's not been a dry day. I think this has actually been the driest day that we've had so far. So I'm looking forward to some sunny days. Definitely.
So, I mean, what was your confidence like beforehand in the rain?
That very first day when we went out in the rain, I actually said I don't like riding in the rain. So by the end of day 1, I'd sort of become accustomed to it, and by the end of day 2, it was normality. So now my confidence in riding in the wet is through the roof. I've had more than enough practice, and even if I'm caught out in it, I don't bat an eyelid. I'd say no. So even if I'm going into work and going on a 2-hour ride after I've finished, if it says it's going to rain, it doesn't dampen my spirits. It actually, if it ain't raining, it ain't training, as they say. But no, I'm confident in it, and I'm actually looking forward to a dry day, so I can actually sort of feel really, really confident on the road. So I had a day on Saturday this last week, and it was beautifully dry, and I actually noticed a massive difference in my riding, just roundabouts, just on winding roads, it just flowed. It just felt really, really smooth the whole time, and I'm nowhere near 100% of the bike's capabilities, so I knew I was perfectly safe, and I can stop in the distance I can see, I can accelerate as hard out of the corners as I want and things like that, to the point where I think I pulled my first wheelie, but that's not what it's all about.
Okay, and I've been on a few rapid training courses, and part of the joy is you just go on a brilliant ride out somewhere in the countryside.
Yeah.
So where have you been?
Well, I'm from Cheshire, so we've done quite a few of the roads around Cheshire, over into Derbyshire, up into the what is it around here? Sort of like Peak District, that's it.
Yeah.
So round the Peak District, been down into Wales. There's a couple of great little roads in Wales that I've really enjoyed. But then we've spent quite a lot of time up in the Lake District as well, where we've one day we actually managed to do all 3 passes, which was really good day out. Loads of twisty bends, loads of good old straights where you can sort of like open it up a little bit, loads of work where you can really get used to sort of the feel of the bike and things like that as well. So absolutely lovely. Like probably Honister's probably up there as one of my greatest passes, but no day's been boring. Every day I've learnt something. Every day has been super interesting, and I've really enjoyed the views, the sights and the sounds.
Cool. So Rowan, could you just try and sum up who the Bike Master course would be really good for?
Well, anybody really. So anybody who wants to learn to ride the bike better, to sort of get the best performance out of the bike in terms of on the roads, in terms of on a track or anything like that. I mean, even yourself, someone who's been riding for 25, 30 years or anything, you'd probably get a hell of a lot out of it in terms of maybe different things to me, because obviously I hadn't been riding that long, but you'll get so much out of it in terms of riding a high performance bike and getting the full benefit of that performance out of it, and being able to still be nice and safe on the roads as well. But essentially the Bike Master is there to get that performance out of yourself and out of the bike.